Sometimes evil has a beautiful face, and this true crime case is beginning to look like something like that. Today's true crime story is coming out of the country of South Africa in Africa, where police are currently on a manhunt, or maybe I should say a woman hunt, for a woman who is suspected of stabbing her husband over 30 times, leading to his death, and fleeing the scene after she sent him to the hospital. So, on the 15th of September, hospital staff were going about their regular stressful duties trying to attend to patients who needed medical attention, when all of a sudden, a man who is 35 years old and called Halimmah Mnyobisi was rushed to the hospital by his wife in a private vehicle. Checks on Halimmah would reveal that he had multiple stab wounds inflicted on him, which, counting, exceeded over 30 wounds. Unfortunately, this man was declared dead on arrival, at which point one would have expected that his wife would stick around, because if you brought your husband to the hospital, irrespective of the condition he's in, you are the first person to be counted on to stick around and provide any support or information to this spouse of yours if need be. Is that not the case? If you don't agree with me, let me know in the comment section. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section. But I think it would have been natural and in its right sense that as a wife who has just brought your husband to the hospital after he has been inflicted with over 30 wounds via a knife, you would have to stick around for any support you can give, at least for emotional support in that regard. So it is very strange to notice that, contrary to this expectation, this wife did not stick around. And the question is, why wouldn't she stick around? That is what started the questioning as to why Halimmah Thamando Mnyobisi did not stick around to see how her husband, Halimmah Mnyobisi, would fare after she brought him to the hospital with over 30 stab wounds. Out of the blue, Halimmah just disappeared. And obviously, even though he was to be given medical attention and also ultimately passed on, the police will be brought in, because a stab wound is not a regular injury. The police would have to be brought in. Investigations will have to be conducted, and rightly so, they were brought in. And the initial or preliminary feedback from the investigation is turning out to be something else, because initially the suspicion that they started with in their working theory was that maybe he had been attacked, maybe a robbery or something. You know, some parts of South Africa are reportedly quite dangerous. So the initial suspicion was that, oh, maybe this guy was attacked. Maybe he was robbed. But then further checks began to take the police in a different direction, because it quickly turned out that their initial suspicion of a possible case of robbery was defeated by the evidence that they were gathering, which eventually began to send the case down the direction of a possible murder case. Because after an intensive investigation, the detectives which were working on the case eventually arrested 3 suspects after warrants of arrests were issued for them. Now, these three suspects were 43-year-old Daniel Vusumuzi, 35-year-old Innocent Manku. And on this guy, I wonder why somebody called Innocent is getting mixed up in a murder investigation as a suspect. But he's there as a suspect. And they were arrested on the 8th of November, charged with conspiracy to commit murder and also committing of murder in itself. Now, the third suspect who was arrested, strangely, is the brother of the deceased. And he is called Abdul Thamando. He is 35 years old. He was arrested in Johannesburg, or Johannesburg, as some people call it. Now, after the arrest of these three people, the wife was still nowhere to be found. And it began to get more strange because your husband was injured severely. You brought him to the hospital. He just disappeared. No trace of you. He has subsequently passed on and you are still nowhere to be found. It began to look like this is somebody running away from questions, running away from possible apprehension, running away from something, definitely, because it's not natural that a wife would behave like this when this has happened to her husband. And it didn't take long for police to connect the dots that Halimmah Mnyobisi, who is just 38 years old, is a key suspect with regards to the murder of her husband. She's actually allegedly being viewed as the prime suspect, and I wouldn't fault them because aside any evidence they have on her or any reason they have to look at her in that way, the way she's carrying herself in itself is begging for her to be suspected. And she's now one of the most wanted women in South Africa. The police have issued a communique that anyone with information on her whereabouts is urged to contact the detectives working on the case. And it's not looking good for Halimmah Mnyobisi because you can't run from the law. No matter where you go, the arms of the law are long enough to catch up with you. I don't know if she's still within the country of South Africa, but even if she has left, I don't think she has beaten the authorities yet because there's still Interpol and some other agencies they can collaborate with to nab her. And I don't think she's well-resourced enough to even pull those kind of escapades. So it is beginning to look like, in as much as we are advocating for femicide to be eliminated, eradicated, and stopped, it looks like some women in themselves may also be doing a lot of harm to some men. I don't know how we are going to address that as well, because it seems like because largely females are the victims of some of these horrific incidents, attention hasn't been brought, or much attention hasn't been brought to the fact that some of these females in themselves are also culprits, perpetrating the same heinous offenses on their male counterparts. I think it's important that attention is also brought to that as well. I said in my previous video, and I maintain that opinion, that evil knows no gender. It might be more predominant or prevalent with some genders, but it doesn't mean it is peculiar to a gender. Evil is evil, and we treat it as such. I don't know if Halimmah Mnyobisi will be arrested at all, and if so, I don't know if she and the three suspects will be found guilty for the murder of her husband, Fazil Mnyobisi. But all I know is that she's being hunted down by the South African police. She's wanted, and I don't know her reason for running. It's possible she's running because she's actually guilty, which would make a straight up sense. But sometimes things may not also be as they seem. It's possible also that she could be running for another reason. We don't know if there are other people who participated in the unaliving of Fezil Mnyobisi, in which case probably Halimmah may be running from somebody else, whom we are yet to find out about, or she's just guilty and she's trying to flee. Either way, I'm following the case as and when updates are due. I will definitely bring them to you. Subscribe if you are yet to do so. Thank you for watching our videos. Leave your comments in the comment section. Share our videos with people to help them also learn how to navigate the dangers of our society as the world keeps getting more dangerous and more complex, with people surprising people with things nobody thought they could do. Look at this beautiful face. In the past, it wouldn't have made sense that such a beautiful face could be the face of a suspect wanted in connection with the murder of her husband. But here we are. The world is becoming what it is becoming. I'm not saying she's guilty. I'm just saying she's a key suspect per what the reports are saying. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you on the next one.